With the announcement of Planet Coaster 2 being released and water parks being a massive element in that game, it inspired me to create a water-themed plaza area with 2 habitats. One of those habitats being for the African penguin, and the other habitat being for the grey seal. Hello everybody, my name is Adamup and welcome back to another Planet Zoo video. You would have seen in the intro, this video was inspired with the Planet Coaster 2 launch. I wanted to create kind of like a water park entrance plaza area, which included 2 habitats for 2 different animals. So we're going to go with the grey seal and the king penguin. One habitat is going to be in one video and the other habitat is going to be in the other video, so it's kind of like a mini series, would you call it? This build is basically going to be separated in 2 videos because it did take me a hell of a long time. If this was to be one video, honestly about a 40-minute long speed build video, and I don't think any of you want to sit through that. If you do, then leave a comment in the section below. That'd be interesting to actually know if you would sit through a 40-minute long video. But I started off with planning the area out, which was more tricky than I actually thought. Obviously we're on like the desert biome here, and we're going to be creating kind of like a tropical look when it comes to these habitats, and I'm back to building in a modern way. I'm so happy. Oh, honestly, it's where my heart is. It's where I feel most comfortable. In fact, I got a recent comment on one of my videos saying this is so modernized. I can't remember what video it was, one of my modern builds. I think it was in New Tropic Zoo, saying this is so modernized and so great. You must be an architect in real life. I'm not. I'm really not. I'd love to be because I heard it's a well-paying job, but I am not. This is a way of me expressing my creativity through Planet Zoo and building stuff. But yeah, we're back to creating stuff with a modern theme, which I love. You see, I've created this I nearly said ladder then, these steps, this bridge over the middle here. And I didn't just want the 2 habitats to be the standalone feature. I wanted to combine these 2 habitats and blend them together and to join them together with a bridge. And we're going to add a lovely kind of like pond / water feature in the middle as well, going underneath the bridge. We're going to be doing that with using manipulating the pathing system and manipulating the barriers to get the water in as well, the habitat barriers, so we can actually have a body of water. So stay tuned for that. And no details was left spare in this video. You can see me just creating steps here. So I just wanted to carry on with the same colour scheme as the flooring I've put in. By the way, you can put any flooring in as long as you've got a path underneath. Your guest and your staff will still walk on it. Just a little side tip if you are new to Planet Zoo. And I played with a lot of ideas in this zoo. Well, that's not a zoo, is it? In this double habitat plaza area. I started creating like an authentic looking bridge and it just didn't look good enough. It didn't look modern enough, so I do go back and change quite a lot of things in these 2 habitats as well. And that's what I always say: if you're not happy with something, go back and change it. Do you know, if you're not happy, change something. And that's just not advice for Planet Zoo, that's life. If you're not happy with something, change it. Now, once one side of the steps were done, I added lights as well, and I'm just going to merge everything together and duplicate it over. I always say, once you've done one side, you've done the other, and that is the steps and the flooring of the bridge pretty much complete. Like I said, just adding little details now, like trims on the edge of, just trying to cover up the pathing system basically to make it look as if I've created this bridge, as if there wasn't even a path there in the first place. Which is a little bit more difficult to do in Planet Zoo because you have to fiddle around with different angles and stuff. But we got there in the end. That is the main thing. Once that was in place, the bridge and the pathing system and all the custom flooring, it was time to use the in-game habitat barriers and line them up. Again, a little bit fiddly, but again, we got there in the end. So you've got something like this. Now you need to raise it up just under the bridge, add the water, and you've got your own kind of like pond. Remember, don't have your path close to your pond because it will not let you put the barriers down. That's just the way the game works. So we're going to try to get this to a good height, good enough height, so it looks kind of like a fish pond, kind of like a water feature. We're going to be adding actual water features like sprays of water coming up, water jets and stuff like that. That's the word I was looking for. And we're going to align everything as well. So we're going to use the plaster pieces again to go with the same theme. That modern theme throughout is what I wanted. And we're going to cover the post and cover the bits we don't really want to see, which you can see me doing now. And like I said, once you've got one side, you've got the other. just adjusting everything. Now I do end up changing that bridge, like I said, again with more plaster pieces, but yeah, just covering everything and lining everything up to make it look just a little bit better. You can see I recolored the plaster to a more whiter color as well to make it look even more modern and more fresh. Instead of that dull white grey kind of color, recolored it to more of a white. Just looks better, doesn't it? And then just duplicating everything over here and just lining everything up as we go along around the edge of this kind of like pool pond water feature area. And then, like I always say, and I have said multiple times in this video already, once you've got one side, you've got the other. So duplicate it over to the other side and line the other side of this water feature up. Make sure everything is looking good. If you see me keep zooming out and having a look, that's just making sure everything is level. There's no pokey out bits or anything like that. And then I can zoom back in and work on it if these things were unlevel or these things will poke out. Right, time to create a custom floor. This is custom floor, what's going to go inside of this water feature. And obviously you see water features, you see tiles, don't you? You see me just playing about with some of the tile options in the game, and these are really good as well in creating anything to do with water. And then I found a more traditional one, was more hard work because it was a smaller piece. This is going to be quite a large piece count build, isn't it? Just about lining everything up on this plaster piece here. Obviously this plaster piece is on the grid, so it make it very easy to copy everything over once I get it right. So just duplicating these tile pieces over and lining them up so they match up with the plaster piece what's on the grid. Hope you're keeping up with me here with what I'm doing. And then I could just easily duplicate it over and place it down. Look how easy that is. Now I've got everything on the grid. Brilliant. Job done. I've lined the pool in the matter of seconds. So yeah, it's quite easy. And then just trying to get everything looking right. So I'm trying to get different kind of floorings here with the plaster pieces flooring and the tile flooring, and then I've got this kind of like other tile flooring what our guests are going to be able to walk on. And obviously the boardwalk is the brown wooden pieces. They're going to be able to walk on there and go over the bridge as well, and making sure everything's symmetrical as well. I really enjoyed doing this build to try to get everything symmetrical. It was just really satisfying. I don't know what it was about it, but it just was. Right, these are going to be planter areas, very basic planter areas. I'm just adding the plaster pieces once again on the grid, and then we're going to fill it with mulch and fill it with some lovely foliage to brighten up and make this area look a little bit more tropical. Fast forward a little bit here, you can see I have actually started the creation of the first habitat. I've used the glass barriers in between the terrain tool to create the body of water. I have got a full tutorial on this. I'll link it down in the description below. I've covered the bridge with the plaster pieces, and the mulch is in, ready for our foliage to go in as well. But first, let's get some sprouts, some jets in the middle of the water feature, add the foliage in on both sides of planters, and add 2 separate planters on each side of this water feature. Moving on to the bridge, and custom railings were added, quite simple but effective custom railings. Recoloured some of the Indonesian wood pieces and the barnyard pieces to black to make it look like it's black metal as well, and I think using black metal really adds to the modern theme. I then went on to move to the actual habitat, probably why some of you are actually here, and I started planning out where I wanted stuff with the plaster pieces. On the right you can see where I want mulch and bodies of foliage there, that's where I want our planters. And then I just covered the terrain with the plaster pieces and created this cute little kind of like shaded canopy thing, but I'm just going to hang off the edge of the actual habitat as well. So we're just going to move that over. It's going to provide a shaded area for our guest, and he looks pretty decent as well. So I'm going to line them up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate them because I've merged them together and put them on the other side, and then I can start building out the habitat itself. That's right, it's time to actually concentrate on the habitat now. You can see I've already lined the flooring with the same flooring as I did the water feature in the centre of the plaza area. And we're just going to add the mulch to the right. Now, you always say this as well. If you're struggling and something just doesn't look right, just add mulch and add foliage. Foliage really is king in this game, and it just looked too basic on the right and left hand side of the habitat, and looked too high as well. So staggered foliage planters was the way forward for me. It's what I like to do. This is going to be the ramp Now, I did play about with a couple of ideas here, and at the end of the day, this is going to be a king penguin habitat. I'm not sure if I've already said that, but the first habitat of this 2 Plaza habitat is going to be for the king penguin. So we need a slant going into the water. We also need quite a large backstage area. Well, not backstage area, quite a private area, away from guest view and away from the water, a bit of land area. And it is tricky to get in these types of habitats. When you're creating these type of habitats, you need to create a slope into the water, and you need to create a slope on the other side back down to ground level, because that's how our animals are going to get into the actual habitat, and how our zookeepers are going to get up and down to the actual part of the habitats they need to clean and provide food and stuff like that, and replenish the enrichment items for food. So you need to keep that in mind. Can my zookeepers get up and down the habitat because it's on a heightened variance of level, and can our animals get where they need to get? Can they get down to ground level, and can they get in the pool if they're an aquatic animal, which you have provided for them? You can see I've just grabbed some of my my backdrop walls. These are mine. They're on the Steam Workshop page if you do want to get them, link in the description. And I'm just going to line kind of like the backing area here to make it look more zoo-like, or more natural-like for our king penguins is the main thing. But again, this is another thing what you would find in a zoo, to make the king penguins feel more at home. Adding that foliage and that rock work as kind of like a backdrop for a wall is what tends to happen. And I have got 4 different variants on my Steam Workshop page. I went with this variant. I just think it looked the most tropical, and I like the way it's looked. And then for the edges of the plaster pieces, I could have just left it as plaster pieces, but I really wanted again to make it look like an actual home for these penguins, so I added a load of aquatic rock work around the edges and covered up the stuff, adding pebbles and stuff like that, again trying to make it look a little bit more realistic and look a little getting my words like a tongue twister, that then trying to make it look a little bit more authentic, like it would do in the wild if the king penguins were in their natural environment. Then I went ahead and kind of mixed things up a little bit. I created this outer platform for the king penguins to go onto, and then they can jump in the water if need be. And it just looked a little bit too much slopey, if that even makes sense. So created kind of like these steps for the king penguins to jump down. I think they can actually get up and down, I'm not too sure, but it looked good. Yeah, I do care about the penguins, but I also care about the appearance of the habitats, and this did look good, I must admit. More tropical look, kind of like, honestly, I'd love to be in this habitat myself, never mind the king penguins. I'd love to have a little sunbathe on one of these platforms. Creating like a step method down onto this platform here. Again, it gives an amazing view as well for our guest. Imagine the king penguins jumping off this platform into the water, deep diving for the enrichment item of the deep dive fish. Imagine that, watching from the outside of that underwater viewing area. It'd just be brilliant, wouldn't it? And I love creating underwater viewing areas. In the middle, it was time to add more mulch and more foliage. It's what I like to do, it's my thing. And I just copied it over. I just copied little bits over from the actual mulch and foliage area from the main body of water in the Plaza area. Just copied it over. Add obviously tropical plants because we're going with that tropical modern look. And yeah, once I was happy with it, I've got it. It looked brilliant. Again, adding foliage in there as well for the king penguins. And at the back, like I said, I was going to do is try to now create those slopes, kind of like a stepped kind of area, so a slope, a flat bit, another slope, until I got to the bottom to ground level, so our animals can traverse up to the water, or they can traverse down to ground level if they want a little bit more privacy. They got that little bit of flat level as well on the top before they get in the water, if they do want to go up there. And obviously at the bottom is where we're going to include our habitat gate, so they can actually get in and out and be fed. Just creating a slope all the way around, again using the plaster pieces off the grid, creating that same theme. And then we're just going to close this staircase off. I am going to include glass panels so you can actually see in this staircase. I'm really struggling with my words today. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I've not had enough coffee. Well, that's what I'm going to blame anyway. I haven't had enough coffee today. This is how it came out looking in the end. The glass panels are in, as you can see, giving another viewing area for our guest around the back to watch our lovely penguins traverse up and into the water if need be. Around the edge you can see a bit of not rock work, sorry, you can see a bit of terrain work just sticking out, so we need to sort that. Like I always say, if something's not right, fix it. There we go. We've got the planters in around the edge going towards the glass panels as well. The planters are in on the other side, and here is where we're going to put our main entrance to the habitat. This is how the animals are going to get in, and our zookeepers and vets are going to get in to treat them and feed them. I just duplicated one of the canopy areas, the shaded areas, and we're going to have that over the door so it keeps with the same theme and gives a little bit of shade for our staff. And then just sliding the habitat gate in and using the plaster pieces to cover up the gaps, and now habitat gate is in. I'm going to create a little window here as well. I don't know why, it just looks a bit bland, this wall, a bit too plain for me. I'm going to create kind of like a little viewing area for our zookeepers so they can just look in without going in if they just want to check on our penguins who are sleeping down below at ground level. And we're just going to very simply just cover the edges with plaster pieces like we've done the whole of this build, and we're just going to create this window with the glass pane, and then we're going to get some of the conservation pieces again recolored to black to make it look like black metal, and we're just going to line this window out just like this, adding that window frame. It just adds a little bit of something else, a little bit of spice onto it. I don't know what I'm saying here. Right, moving on to roof, and a lot of people seem to struggle with roofs in Planet Zoo, and for me it's one of the easiest things because it's on the grid. Even if you want an off the grid roof, you still build it on the grid and then separate it. I have got a tutorial on this as well, but you will see me doing it now. I do it quite a lot. In fact, I do it in pretty much every build I make and every building. So what I like to tend to do is put a non off the grid plaster piece on top of an on the grid plaster piece in the same group, and then I can just duplicate them over. And then if I want a thinner roof, I can just delete the on the grid pieces and lower the thinner plaster pieces down, or I can have, in this case, a thicker roof. We added a conservation piece on the end as well, so it looks kind of like guttering or like a black metal trim to it. And we're going to have two different height variants. So I always suggest this in every building. I've kind of like an outer building and an inner building with two different height variants. So we're going to have a thinner roof on the front, and at the back we're going to have a thicker roof, giving it those height variants. Just bear with me, you can see me just putting everything down on the grid at the moment. I want a little bit of overhang as well, and that's what I always suggest doing. I normally do 1 meter, but in this case, because it does come quite far forward, the water, I did a 2 meter hangover with the roof. And just lining everything up, make sure your grid size is down to 1 meter. It just makes life much easier to line everything up, especially if you're building off the grid pieces onto on the grid pieces. Fast forward a little bit here, you can see I have now got a flatter, thinner roof because I deleted the on the grid pieces. At the back I've left them for a thicker roof. Then I created this gap. I was going to put like a glass skylight in, and I tried it and it looked stupid. So I don't know why I did this, it just kind of looked good. I have no reasoning, no design, it just came up in my head. So I thought I'll put, again, like a little kind of like shaded canopy area here just at the front, just to give the roof a little bit of a more variant style as well, and to style it up a little bit. I really don't know why I've done this, it just kind of looked good and I went with it. Well, I think it looks good. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, or would you think I should have put glass in? I just tried the glass, it just didn't look right to me. Just moving everything over now, tidying up the spaces, moving some of the conservation pieces up over to complete the trim on the roof down below. I've got angle snap on, and I have got position snap on, so it just snaps nicely next to each other, but we still have to move everything in place. You can see that thicker roof really coming in at the back there with the plaster pieces and giving that different height variant, making this build pretty much 10 times better just by having different height variants. I know I keep blagging on about this, but it just makes so much different. And overhanging roofs like you can see me doing here now, I realised it wasn't overhanging, so I had to delete some pieces to get it to overhang. I'm going to add a little skylight in here as well, just like that. Doesn't matter about the glass pieces overhanging. And there we go, that is the build pretty much done. I thought I kind of need to adjust the bottom here and need to add a railing as well to keep our guest hands away from the glass. I don't want our guests banging on the glass. That's not what you want in like an aquarium style build like this. So adding a little guide rail, a little handrail to keep our guest away from the glass is what I thought I needed to do. So that's what I did. Again, using the Indonesian pieces recolored to black to make them look like metal. And there we go, the penguins are in, our African penguins are in, and they're very happy in the lovely habitat what I created for them. I'm so happy that this habitat is complete and happy how it came out looking. Just a side note, just at the front, little makeshift kind of like information board and an information screen for a bit of education. I'll zoom out and let you have a look. You can see it all the way around, and then at the back, actually there's penguin just chilling there at the back, and then the gates there all the way around with the planters, underwater viewing area for our guests. We've not got the guest in yet. I'm going to wait for part 2 of this video, which will be the grey seal video. We'll be creating a habitat for the grey seal on the other side, so stay tuned for that next week. But there's one of our lovely penguins currently walking on water, it seems. Okay, Frontier, is this the Jesus of penguins? What's going on? Well, there you go, they are swimming past, and what a viewing area that is. Imagine being a guest and viewing penguins in this kind of environment like this. With the penguins in and happy and the habitat complete, that concludes this video. If you did like this video, please hit that like button, and if you are still around, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not done already. My name's Adamup, and I will catch you in the next Planet Zoo video.